Welcome to Stu's How To's. Today we're going to be going over this replica Rickenbacker, which is modeled after the 360 12 string C63, I believe it is. This is made for our George Harrison in my Beatles tribute band. And the main difference you can see is that it's got the R tailpiece instead of the trapeze. Other than that, this is fairly identical. The rosewood fretboard is a bit darker brown than light. And the toaster pickups aren't set on rubber grommets, but it does have the 5 knobs. It's got the double pick guard, and it's got the proper bridge, and the tuning heads look pretty decent. It's a thin guitar too, very thin, and this one comes only with the one output. It doesn't have both stereo and mono, it just comes with the one. I haven't done any modifications to this except take the plastic off the pick guard and rearrange the knobs so that when they're in the off position they resemble my 325, which means they all point this way when they're off. So it's a good guitar. I've had it just for about 24 hours now. I haven't put flat wound strings on it. These are the strings that came with it from China. The neck does come up a tiny bit, but I think that is probably the same on the actual 360. I've never actually handled one, but it is a 12 string, so it does have a very, very thick neck and headstock. It's a very nice looking, really beautiful guitar, and it sounds fantastic once you get it in tune and feed it through the Vox Tone Lab. So I've got my second Vox Tone Lab here. It's still an ST, but I spent all last night trying to figure out the right settings to make this sound a bit like George's. Now, this is a guitar from China, so it's not going to sound exactly like George Harrison's, especially because we don't have the flat wounds on it right now, and the intonation might be slightly off. And because these are strings that have only been strung in the last 24 hours, they've only been tightened and tuned, they can be a little bit off, and it is a 12 string, so there's double the amount of strings to tune, so it may sound a bit different than you're used to, but please be kind in your comments, because I'm just trying to do this so that you guys know that there is a Rickenbacker out there that does have the proper neck placement right here, and that it does look like an actual Rickenbacker from the 60s. One more thing before I do some demo of just playing it. To replace this part would be about $110. I don't have that pocket money right now, so I'm just going to play it as is. Maybe in the future I'll do a video following up. But if you go to the Winfield Vintage Parts, the same website that I got the trapeze vibrato tailpiece for my 325, they do have the 12. They have many different models for the 12 string, and they have different brackets and tailpieces that you can choose if you want to make yours, if you ever want to get one of these, look more like George Harrison's, or even customize it a little bit. I do happen to have one problem with this guitar thus far. The action is fantastic. It is a bit high down here, but the main problem is that when you switch to just the neck pickup, it does crackle a tiny bit, and I think that may just be faulty wiring, but I won't be using the neck so much. But it does, you'll hear it when I switch it up during the demo, that it may not work a little bit, and you have to just touch it a little bit to get it to work. But it's a really good guitar for the price. I mean, it's one fifth of the price you'd actually spend, maybe even a bit less than that. This was $389, I believe, and then they threw in a case because I paid them a bit extra to try and get the plastic a bit thicker on top so that it would look more like the 63. But then when it came, it was fine. They actually made a different model. I think it was like a 330 or something that looked horrid. It wasn't anything I wanted, so they threw in the case to make up for me paying a bit extra, it seems.